Hey, what's up? Hey, I want to talk for a minute or two about tires here. Now, a lot of people will say that tires don't really matter, and I think that's true up to a certain point. For example, in the Pirates of the Stinkabean ride, Danger Tom was on a DRZ 400 with the stock tires, the infamous Death Wings. And he said he was running them at street pressures, high pressures. He didn't have any problems. There was only one spot where he lost traction. So, in that respect, having good technique, good skills, good throttle control, and understanding traction definitely can overcome like a tire's deficiency, or you can operate within like its capabilities. But I think that having the right tires for the terrain you like to ride or how you like to ride, your style, definitely can't hurt. So my favorite, as you guys know, is the Golden Tire GT 216A Fatty for the front. That's in the foreground. In the background is Little Joe, and tires are kind of limited for those size tires. But I have on Little Joe. It is a moto-z Terrapactor. Now, I just want to talk about the differences between these two tires here, ignoring the size and stuff. The Terrapactor on Little Joe is a soft terrain tire, and the front tire, the Golden Tire on Green Fury, is an intermediate terrain tire, or soft to intermediate terrain, but mostly intermediate terrain. So, one thing that usually means from the manufacturer, and it can vary by manufacturer, is people think a soft terrain tire that the rubber compound is going to be softer, and that's not usually the case. The soft terrain tires usually have, if it's not FIM approved, will usually have taller lugs, and the rubber compound will be a harder type compound, and that's so that it can punch through loose surface stuff and get a good grip. Whereas the intermediate terrain tire is a little softer rubber compound, usually with most manufacturers, and that is going to give a little different type of grip. So like the knobs may flex more, the tire may the carcass of the tire may flatten out easier than a harder rubber compound. So what I've noticed riding these two bikes with these two different types of tires and these rubber compounds is the soft terrain tire, the Terrapactor, is really good at punching through dirt, the loose shale type stuff, mud, things like that. I definitely notice it is not as good on big rocks or sheets of rocks or things like that. Whereas the Golden Tire, the intermediate terrain tire, it's good enough in mud and really loose stuff, but I notice a much better difference or bigger difference on like flat rocks or sheets of rocks, wet rocks, things like that. So like the Terrapactor, it kind of feels like if you've ever worn like soccer cleats or football cleats. Okay, so if you're running around in your yard on the grass, you got all kinds of grip. And then if you run from your yard to your driveway or the sidewalk, those cleats on your soccer shoes or football shoes, they don't really flex. So when you're on a super hard surface, all of a sudden, you don't have much grip. It's like you're almost on ice skates sometimes. And that's, I guess, the best way I can describe the difference in feel between these two types of tires. So if I'm in loose stuff, grass, mud, whatever, the harder compound with bigger lugs cuts right through that stuff and gives me insane amounts of grip. But when I get to a harder surface or a sheet of rock or something, the tire tends to slide around more. The knobs don't flex as much and get as much grip. Whereas the intermediate terrain tire, it's like I said, good enough in any of the other kind of stuff, and by no means is it terrible or weird or anything like that. It's just not as good in the super loose stuff as the Terrapactor. But on the rocks, which we are on a ton, it's a lot grippier than the soft terrain type tire. So if you're looking at tires or trying to figure out what tires to get for your bike, like I said, up to a point, tires don't matter. A really skilled rider could ride lots of stuff on crappy tires. But for the rest of us, having good tires that match our terrain and the things we like to do are definitely not going to hurt. So I would ask around to other guys in your area, see what they're using, what people report work well for your terrain, and you might have to try a few out. I've got a collection of tires that came on bikes or whatever that they're just sitting in a pile in the corner. I don't know that I'll ever use them. I've kind of found what works good for me here on these bikes, and you might have to do the same thing. If you can't afford tires different from stock right now, I don't think it's the end of the world at all. As long as you spend a little time out in your usual play area and kind of just get familiar with the feel of the tire, because every tire is going to feel a little different too, especially if you like change tire size, or when you first use a fatty tire or something, it feels a little different up front. But that's it, just something to think about. Tire discussions are a lot like religion, or talking about what's the best oil or things like that. But you'll have to find the best thing for you. The only downside is it's $40 to $80 a pop to try a tire. All right, take care, guys.